Good morning, everyone. I am Ken Ross here. I'm a business consultant who specializes in cost reduction for businesses. And I have a very special guest that I'd love to introduce you to. His name is Frank Sexton. He's a mediator. How are you doing today, Frank?
I'm doing really well, and I hope you are too, and everybody who's watching.
Yes, I am doing very well, and thank you for asking. So, tell me a little bit about how you got into the legal practice, because mediation, it's part of the legal process, right? You have to have a law license. How did you get into it?
Well, many years ago when I was in, I guess, junior high and high school, I always enjoyed researching and writing papers and delving into subjects and constructing arguments and constructing narratives. And as the years went by, I just thought that I could use that preference and those talents to become a lawyer, since that seemed to be what a lot of lawyers do. I didn't set out to be a litigator initially, but thought I would like to be a litigator because I thought I might just be bored sitting in an office drafting documents all the time. And so I eventually became a litigator, a commercial litigator.
Okay. So commercial litigation, something that you found a passion for, right? How has it changed over the years? Because you told me earlier you've done this for a long time. So give me kind of a history.
48 years.
48 years. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
You gave me the answer. That's 48 years. Tell me how it's changed over those 48 years.
Well, in the commercial realm, the business realm that I worked in, it's always been very money oriented. I mean, commercial litigators don't really set out to serve the ends of social justice or social causes. If you want to do that, you have to do that in your own time. They always had to do with businesses, but eventually, even when you litigate business and commercial matters, there are always human beings involved who have all of the gamut of human emotions running through it. But I think probably the one trend I've seen in recent decades, it was always a rough contact sport type of profession, but I think now it's become probably even more contentious and difficult and uncivil than it was when I started.
Okay. And so you would say it's more of it's more of a volatile place. Is it a rising trend? More people are doing it?
Based on what I read and what lawyers who are still litigating tell me, sadly, it is. I think as the society has become less civil, litigation has gone that way too.
Okay. Well, I like money, right? I'm the guy who likes to save people money too. I would say most people like money. I don't know if they like saving it, but how do you save money in this whole process in litigation? I mean, you've done it for a long time. I'm sure you can give us some advice. What would be some?
Well, when you're a litigator, the idea of saving money, it's almost like a conflict of interest. You and your firm want to make as much money as possible. Your client wants to pay you as little as possible, right, which is where a mediator comes in. One of the hallmarks and the hooks of having mediation, why people should want to mediate and embrace mediation, is because the number one reason why we want them to do it is to save money. When I left the full-time practice of litigation 3 years ago, my hourly rate for my top clients was $700 an hour.
Wow.
It was $350 to $400 for the rock bottom clients, the people really.
That's an expensive email, Frank. I would imagine an email from you is worth its weight in gold.
It is. And one of the horrible scandals, I think, in our country, Ken, is that most ordinary people, even affluent people, really cannot afford the cost of legal services today. And the legal needs of most go unmet as a result. So a big plus for mediation is we try to save people that bleeding.
Okay. So it sounds like what you're saying is try to push for mediation as soon as you can, right? Or yes, as soon as it's available. And then how are mediators picked, or how does this whole process start? Because honestly, that's what you want to do next.
Well, a big factor, believe it or not, in how they're picked and when they're picked is the aura that lawyers want to project of being battle-hardened warriors, of being afraid of no one. And so often they resist mediation in the early parts of the case because they don't want their clients to think that they're, they're weak sisters or they're, or they're lambs. Okay.
Right.
So sometimes you've got a public relations problem with your own client in saying early, maybe we should mediate this. And most mediations arise when the court issues a scheduling order that sets the date by which a mediation must happen. And then they begin the serious talk about who the mediator should be, when it should be, the format, so on and so forth. And the way mediators are picked is the lawyers will start throwing names out there. And they usually talk about 3 or 4 people. And then if they can agree on a single person, that is the person they pick. It's a process.
Okay, so it's more lawyer driven, right? As far as picking a mediator.
Absolutely.
But can a client really push for that? Can I say, hey, look, I go to, a prosecuting attorney or somebody I want to make a lawsuit against, right? And I want to push for mediation very soon. Can I, me as a client, go to that lawyer and say, hey, look, I know you have an ego. I know you want to win this case. We're going to win it, but we're going to really push for mediation. Can I do that?
Yes, and some clients do, not many, because most non-lawyers are totally unfamiliar with the process of mediation, except most people have encountered them in their divorces, sad to say. And so, everybody gets to sample a little bit of mediation in life. And Absolutely. It's kind of one of the unpleasant parts of the legal system. But yes, non-lawyers can do the picking if they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. And that's why I even created this channel. And that's why I like to talk about these things, because honestly, it's something that most people don't look to do, but is an option for them. And if they push for it, it could save them money in the legal process, right? Is that what you're saying?
That's what we like.
Absolutely. So now it comes up to my last question. This is a question we talked about a lot before, and I love this question. And you said there's this saying, you get the justice you can afford. Can you explain what that really means? What that means to you?
Ken, I spoke earlier about the cost of litigation. Litigation is extremely time intensive. I don't care what it is. I don't care what the topic is. Mm-hmm. Cases have a tendency to almost take on a life of their own, like they're living creatures that can't be stopped once they're put in motion, okay? Yes. Particularly when all of the meters are running and the money is flowing in, okay? Right. And so when you are getting legal bills on a monthly basis, usually $500, $600, $700 an hour, and the conflict is really heating up, and it's $700 an hour times perhaps 25 hours for that month, do the math. Right. It gets very painful very quickly. And so tragically, most of the people who are watching this probably would struggle to pay a legal bill like that. On the rare occasions that I've been dragged into the legal system as a litigant, never for malpractice, other things, yes. I can tell you, even I was shocked by how expensive it was. And right. I looked to settle it as quickly as possible.
Right. I've done some very simple things like adoptions, and even adoptions get to be difficult. And to me, that's that seems very simple, but they take a life on their own. And in the end, what you're saying, as far as the justice you can afford, you need to maximize the amount of capital you have towards that legal challenge and not overpay for it. Right?
Correct.
Or run out of money. You could run out of money. That's overpaying for it too, right?
That happens all the time, which is why you'll constantly hear lawyers complaining about not getting paid, because eventually that does happen with most clients.
Right. So I guess I have another aside. This is a very, let's say, off-topic question. It's like off-the-cuff question. It's, do lawyers really get upset about that? Like, oh, do they want me to work for free? I can't work for free, right? Like,
Ken, if I had every dollar that I had not been paid over my 48 years of practice, I wouldn't be sitting here speaking to you, sir. I'd be in my mansion on the Riviera.
So you basically won the lottery, but you haven't gotten paid out yet, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Wow.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I've been stiffed on legal bills that were in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, sir.
Wow. Wow. So are you going to take them to court for that? Because that'll cost.
You know, that's another story. I mean, if you sue somebody for something like that, expect a counterclaim for malpractice or something else awful in
Right.
return.
I'm sure you're not getting into a good legal battle there.
And then while you're doing that, you can't work on your other stuff. So you try to avoid that.
Okay. Yeah, that would be kind of like that movie Inception. Have you ever seen Inception? It's
Yes,
a dream
yes.
within a dream. You got litigation within litigation within litigation, and that's not something you want to get into, right?
No, no, no. And you know, we also try to protect people from the risk in litigation, because no matter what any lawyer will tell you, you can never really tell what's going to happen when you go before that jury or that judge.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
you may lose the case you thought you were absolutely going to win, or you may win one that was a dead bang loser. You never know.
Okay. Well, this has been very insightful, Frank. I love what you do. I mean, mediation is something, when I got into business, I didn't know much about. And then I met you and I was like, wow, I mean, I've heard of people being pushed to mediation. I've just never seen a mediator and what it does in such intricate details before. And I wanted to tell you that I really admire what you do for the legal process for people
Thank you.
who are in a lot of legal challenges, and what you do is very important to the whole process. And that,
You know, I
that is
actually
something
got
we need.
this note at the end of last year after a very contentious, ugly mediation. And this was the guy who had to pay. Okay.
Yes.
And I warned him that he was going to have problems at trial. I will give an opinion. And he said, Mr. Sexton, thank you so much for your guidance and honesty during my mediation. You're a very genuine individual. God bless you always. And he signed it. And I was taken aback. Wow, somebody who says thank you.
Yeah.
And it enclosed a check, which was the best part.
Wow. Hey, so didn't have to fight for
No,
the fees
no.
there. So you got what you.
But it made me feel good. I
Yes.
lightened his load.
All righty. Well, like I said, I really appreciate that. Thanks for sharing all your expertise and your knowledge. 48 years, that's a long time to do this.
Seems,
and I
yeah.
really admire
Some days it seems like longer.
it.
It goes very fast, Ken. It goes very fast.
I'm sure it does. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.